lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to be talking about Snake Eyes Deadgame Declassified. This is the black and white version of the final issue of the Snake Eyes Deadgame miniseries by Rob Liefeld, where he had different people inking him, and we get to have notes by Rob underneath each piece of art. So I know I did a review already of the entire series, but wanted to kind of show this off because I love getting to see the black and white art for the comics. I love coloring in comics, and especially how far it's come in terms of like the different palettes you can use. I love getting to see the untouched black and white art. So right off top, we get the first page by Liefeld. You know, he talks about wanting a strong image of Snake Eyes shooting his pistol with one hand with a full view of Thor's hammer. And then we got this double page, Corey Hampshire inking over Rob. And I love this too. You know, he talks about, he's such a talented artist and has a beautiful ink line that complements his stuff perfectly. And he wanted to make sure he got a big splashy image to play with. I would say he did, for sure. This one was one of my favorite pages in the original book too. We got Philip Tan. And it's cool seeing like how each inker adding their own flourishes kind of gives you a different style of Rob. And I talked about that going through some of his old New Mutant stuff, and like how much an inker can really change the way his line work looks. You know, like it makes such a difference. And I can totally understand Rob wanting to ink himself, because like then you're getting like the pure vision of his art. And then I love this too. We get Ed Piskor giving his line, and he even calls out to it, you know, like the cartoon kayfabe boys, he calls them. And he says he gave him did a great job giving an almost Dan Klaus-like approach, some Wally Wood-esque lines on this as well. Faithful to his lines, but properly interpretive as well. And I do think that, to me, you almost can't even tell that it's Rob's pencils. You know, like, I mean, you can you see it in the layout, but it's interesting to see Ed Piskor over Liefeld's inks. And I love that we see this too. So Rob always does, he draws it a smaller size and then he blows it up when he inks it. So we get to see his thumbnails here, and then on the opposite page we're getting to see how Jim Rugg interpreted it, in kind of a smoother style, right? Like not as, if you compare it to that and then you compare it to this, just like a more simplified line work. Huge Jim Rugg fan, so I really love this page as well. And we get Chance Wolf. This is dope. So this is one of two pages that Chance Wolf worked on. And I really like the way he interpreted Rob's pencils here too. Especially if when you look at both, like pretty damn faithful to the way Rob even like outlined with his inks. Whilce Portacio, dude. This was a good one too. Because Whilce has that kind of like very, as Rob says, like an angular slant to the lines and like a lot of energy. And I think that is super evident. Like you get to see the inks there and then how it's colored, and it adds a different energy to the page. Then we get Carl Kiesel, which is crazy too. He calls out, how he hasn't collaborated in over 30 years because they worked together on the Hawk and Dove miniseries that Carl and Barbara wrote, and Rob was it was one of his first professional jobs. I think it's his first series, because I know he did some maybe a fill-in and some pinups and other books. But this is also interesting to see Carl's line work over Rob's, because you can kind of see like him, how he adds his own flourish, a little bit of a smoother line. Really dope. Oh, I love this one too. It's double page spread, and I love who inks it. Ryan Ottley. This is one of my favorite pairings over Rob's pencils. I think Ottley, you can see the Ottley in there. You can see the Liefeld. This is something I would love to see. I mean, even Rob saying how thrilled he was to work with him. He's like, it exceeded his expectations for this collaboration, and I think this is like easily one of the best double pages in here. We get Paul Scott, aka Rob Liefeld. And I love how he says he came out of retirement. So Paul Scott, if you don't know, Rob's mentioned it. It's his, it's his alias that he uses, and a lot of creators have used aliases in the past on projects, and I like that he keeps it kayfabe, dude. And then we get Chance Wolf again, another great page. Love the zombies in here. This is a great shot of Snake Eyes, and it's funny because I guess this page was supposed to be Art to Bear was supposed to do that, but he had a hand injury, so Chance in a pinch came in and helped ink this one. This is probably the craziest. Neal Adams. And when he reached out, it was an immediate yes, Rob, I'd love to. But his demand was that it be a double page spread. And how do you tell Neal Adams no? This is just insane to see two titans of the industry that we've never seen collaborate. I mean, you can see the Rob Liefeld in that face, but you can see that those ink lines of Neal Adams, those thick brush strokes, so good. Love to see the original art on that one. And then we get Tom Scioli kind of throwing it into the mix. And this one, I would say you can see the Scioli more when it's colored, if that makes sense. But I definitely dig his inks over Rob. And obviously, he worked on Transformers versus G.I. Joe. I love that Rob even says that supercharged him towards wanting to do something with these characters. And he just loves that work. So I think that's cool that, you got Tom Scioli, Jim Rugg, Ed Piskor, the Cartoonist Kayfabe crew coming in, doing some stuff. Marat Mychaels working together for decades. Marat was part of, worked with him on New Mutants X-Force. He worked with him on all the extreme stuff. So cool to see him coming in, inking some Rob pencils. Love this, dude. Gotta love these pencils, man. And then Kevin Eastman on inks. Another crazy pairing that I was not expecting. I tried to steer clear of who was going to be inking on the book when the original color issue came out. But just so good. And I love that he was able to land him, I'd love to see that. Rob even talks about wanting to, collaborate again. I'd love to see that. Get Jerry Ordway. Such a unique look to Rob's pencils and interpretation. Just insane. And all the Kirby crackle in the background. It's awesome. Carl Kerschel on inks over Rob too. Again, just a completely different style than you think of with Rob's, but I think did a great job complementing his style. Eric Canetti, some really dope work on there. Dan Panosian. I mean, Dan and Rob go back all the way to Prophet, and that original Prophet series from the 90s. So this is pretty cool to see them jam out together, and I think it came out really effing dope. Dan Fraga, another Extreme Studios alumni, dude, and we get to see him inking over Rob. Another great page. Love that shot of Snake Eyes jumping in with the sword. We get Carl Alstetter again. Worked with him in Extreme Studios. Bjorn Hain. Wasn't familiar with that name prior to this. And then we get Rob at the end. But yeah, dude, this is just... If you haven't read that story and you're a fan of Liefeld, fan of G.I. Joe, I highly recommend it. Really great book. If you can find this copy, the Deadgame Declassified, also highly recommend. It is such a cool one shot that you get to see the pencils, you get to see the inks, and get to see the difference of interpreting Rob's pencils and transferring that to the ink and color page. And I just think it's really cool project. I think I'd love to see more publishers kind of do this kind of stuff. Even if it's just, it doesn't have to be something where it's so unique where there's different inkers on pencils. I think just getting to see behind the scenes is something I enjoy. It's that's why we buy artist editions, but this is an easier price point, $6.99, as opposed to dropping $150, $125 on one of those large books. But dope project. Go pick it up if you can. Check out the trade for the miniseries. And while you're at it, make sure you follow us on social media. All the links are down below. Hit the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.